Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to yet another edition of Law and Order, brought to you by Channel I. As I have always stated on these shows, ladies and gentlemen, we take it upon ourselves the duty of educating you, our dear viewer, on matters relating to the law, matters that are of relevance to your day-to-day lives. And last week we started on the very interesting subject of insurance, and with a magnifying glass, we looked at what the concept of insurance is and why it is important to our day-to-day lives. Joining us once again tonight to delve further into this subject is a senior attorney at law who counts almost 16 years in the profession, Mr. Shehan Gunawardana. Thank you, Mr. Gunawardana, for being with us this evening.
Thank you for inviting me, Mokshani.
Thank you also for educating us so eloquently on what insurance is and the importance of insurance to our day-to-day lives. Now, last week we covered the entire aspect of a motor accident, and you advised us on what steps we need to take in the event we are involved in an accident. This week I would like, with your permission, to go into the entire idea of what exactly is compensated in the event you meet with an accident. We're talking obviously mainly on motor insurance here. What are the losses that are compensated by an insurance provider if you choose to make a claim?
Yes, looking at it from the perspective of a comprehensive insurance, where you have taken an insurance to cover the property of your vehicle and the persons riding in that vehicle, the insurance policy is basically the end all of it, because it is a contract between yourself and your insurer. So when the words of that contract would be the four corners of what you would be able to claim from your insurer. Now, therefore, it's basically restricted to contract. If the insurer has told you that they would pay for the loss caused to your vehicle up to a particular limit, then your claim is restricted to that limit. If your insurer has told you in that policy that they would pay you for the loss of limb up to a particular limit, then you're again restricted by that. So it's basically you're restricted by what you have agreed with your insurer, the insurance contract or the insurance policy. Where a third-party insurance is concerned, last time I think we informed our viewers on how one would go into processing or making such a claim, and also the process of going to court, what are the steps that need to be taken in making such a claim, presuming you are claiming it from the third-party insurer of the offending vehicle. You need to understand, as we said last time, the notice under section 106 of the Motor Traffic Act, and also making the offending vehicle's insurer a party to the action. Thirdly, you must also note that under the law of limitations in Sri Lanka, you can only bring such an action within 2 years of the incident or the causing of the loss. Yes. So those are things to keep in mind. And when you are making a claim, we must understand what are the claims that we can make. If we are making a claim from the third-party insurance of the offending vehicle, there are the limitations with regard to contract which you would have in a comprehensive insurance do not apply, because whatever loss that is caused to you because of the negligence or the offense of the offending vehicle and its driver is claimable. However, that is restricted to, or at least there are two exclusions. One is the personal, or at least the mental pain and suffering caused to a person is not claimable. So, if you felt very distressed, or if you were distraught by seeing your vehicle in such a state, you cannot quantify such a loss. Secondly, in the what is compensable is what is called patrimonial loss. That would mean the lessening of your assets or your patrimony due to the offense of the offending vehicle and its driver. So, here we come to a very important and a very sensitive area, that is what patrimonial loss can be caused to a person in the event that due to an accident a child succumbs to injury. So, in the law as it stands today, there is no patrimonial loss that can be caused to a parent, for instance, due to the loss of a child, because there is no lessening of the patrimony or the assets of the parent due to the loss of a child. So, therefore, in case of an accident, if someone succumbs to injury, the case of a death, what is claimable is the loss that is caused to you, or what is called patrimonial loss, the loss that is caused to your estate or your assets. If you were a dependent, then let's presume it's husband and wife. The husband unfortunately succumbs to injury. The wife is a housewife, and she was depending on the income of the husband. So, let's presume the husband spent, out of a salary of say 100,000, spent 10,000 on personal expenses for himself and spent the rest of the 90,000, the rest of the 100,000, which is 90,000, on household expenses and on the wife, then the 90,000 is claimable. So, that is the way courts would look at, or the law would look at, compensation. On this same note, Mokshini, I think it is important to note that as we record, there is a bill before Parliament. If it is enacted, then the law would certainly change with regard to compensation, even in the instance where a child succumbs to injury, because that proposed enactment would make it possible for a parent or a grandparent to claim for the loss even of a child caused by the negligence or the omission or action of another, irrespective of whether that the death caused loss to his patrimony or not. So, that is only in the event of a death.
If I would also like to mention here that if the parents are in any way dependent on the child, then the parents would be able to be compensated. For example, if they are elderly parents and
most certainly.
the child is a grown up and he is living with the parents, but is providing for their well-being and for their day-to-day expenses, then it is possible for them to...
Yes, any dependent can claim, as the law stands today, any dependent can claim for the loss caused to that dependent due to the injury caused to the person who that dependent was depending on, or the death caused to the person whom that dependent was depending on.
Thank you. That was extremely educational. Let me once again revert back to the entire incident of, say, an accident taking place. And let's assume that your vehicle has sustained serious damage due to this incident, and you make a claim to your insurance provider. Now, as you mentioned earlier, what will be covered by the insurance policy is specified in the contract itself, in the insurance contract itself. And
yes,
most often various insurance providers have a menu of covers. Is that so?
that is so. That is so.
Now, let's assume that someone whose vehicle has sustained very serious damage makes a claim to the insurance provider, and the damage that has been caused to the vehicle is, and whatever other damage, is covered by the insurance policy. In what circumstances can an insurance provider refuse to honor that claim or repudiate that claim?
Good question. And when you obtain a comprehensive insurance cover, please take time to read the terms and conditions. It's in fine print. It looks like a booklet. It will take time, but it is in your interest to know what your insurance company has taken on. What risk has the insurance company taken on? So, yes, there are instances where an insurer would what is called repudiate or reject a claim, in this instance for on a comprehensive insurance cover. Sometimes, if you look at what is called the certificate of insurance which is given to you, the document that is given to you, which basically in a summarized form gives you what you're covered and what are excluded from cover.
Yes.
So, it's important that you look at that, because certain persons are excluded from driving. Now, for instance, it is illegal to have a person driving a vehicle who does not possess a valid driving license for that class of vehicles.
Yes.
Now, that is important. So, if you had a driver's license that permits you to drive a car only, and you use that and drive a lorry, that incident would be sufficient for your insurer to reject your claim, because you have authorized someone who is not permitted in law to drive that vehicle. And certainly driving under the influence would be another reason for rejection of a claim. Likewise, there are areas which are covered by the insurance and areas which are not covered or excluded by the insurance. So, you need to know, when you look at your policy, you read it, you need to know what your insurer has agreed to cover. In the event that it falls outside of the cover, certainly an insurance company would reject or what is called repudiate a claim.
Yes. Now, if, for example, in the situation that I find myself in, I meet with an accident and I make a claim. On paper, according to the policy, it should be covered, but for some reason it is repudiated, and it is my position that it has been unjustly done so. What relief do I have? Can I make an appeal to the insurance provider? What are the steps you would recommend that I take in such an instance?
Yes, most certainly the simplest advice I can give is to please document it or put it down in writing to your insurer that you don't agree, and wait for the response. But even if you haven't read the insurance policy up to that time, please take time to at least then read your insurance policy, because some insurance policies do have what is called an arbitration clause, and that arbitration clause provides that if there is a difference or a dispute between yourself and the insurer, then you need to refer that dispute to arbitration. If your insurance policy does not have such an arbitration clause, then you are free to go to court. However, if there is an arbitration clause, you cannot go to court, because the Arbitration Act prevents you from going to court unless the other side agrees to go to court.
And by court you mean the district court of the relevant jurisdiction?
That is right. That is right. Where jurisdiction is concerned, it would necessarily have to be the district court where you the district court which has jurisdiction over the place where you entered into the insurance contract or where the insurer resides, the insurance company resides. On a further note, if you do have a dispute between yourself and your insurer, there is the possibility of complaining to the insurance ombudsman. However, the complaint by the insurance ombudsman does not always result in a resolution of the matter, because the insurance ombudsman can only recommend a solution, but the insurer nor yourself are bound to comply. Then you can also complain to the Insurance Board of Sri Lanka, the IBSL, that you don't agree with the repudiation of your claim. They will also investigate, and they may also recommend a certain course of action to your insurance company. However, if your insurance company does not come to an amicable solution of the dispute with you, then unfortunately, or maybe fortunately for you and me, Mokshini, you would necessarily require to obtain, hopefully, the advice of a lawyer and and file a case in court.
Thank you, Shehan. Just one question to wind up this extremely interesting area of law. Why insurance?
Yes. See, 50 years ago maybe, insurance was not that necessary as I would think it is today. And I use the word necessary because the world has become such that your risks have also increased, I would think, at least many or even 100-fold. Yes. Today we see the risks involved from natural disasters escalating. We see the risks involved from road accidents escalating. Therefore, the risk to life, limb and property has increased manifold. And therefore, sometimes if you are not insured, the financial risk that you are burdened with, and in the hopefully that it would never happen to you, but in the unfortunate eventuality that one of these contingencies do happen to you, the financial risk would be almost insurmountable. Therefore, it is only through insurance that you could mitigate this loss or cover this risk. And in today's context, I would again use the word insurance is necessary. Where life insurance is concerned, yes, because life has become so insecure as well. Where health is concerned, certainly yes. And where property is concerned, of course consider it. Where vehicles are concerned, you're bound by law.
By necessary to take insurance for health, property, or vehicle. Brings the end of the show. Me again.